Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here on the Auto Wisdom YouTube channel. Today I've got a smile on my face because I'm sitting behind the wheel of a 2020 Shelby GT500. Now, before we get into the driving portion of this review, I do want to quickly touch on the specification of this vehicle, talk about a few of the packages and some of the technical hardware that this car has to boast. This 2020 Shelby GT500 is powered by a supercharged 5.2-liter V8 engine, which is known as the Predator by Ford Performance. It is sort of a derivative of the Shelby GT350 Voodoo engine, except the flat plane crankshaft design has been removed in favor of a cross plane crank for added strength, although the red line of this car is 7,500, which is still quite high. It features an Eaton Root style supercharger that's 2.65 liters in displacement, and it's also dry sumped. Now, that engine is paired up to a Tremec 7-speed dual clutch automatic, which is actually the same unit that's used in the C8 Chevrolet Corvette. However, Ford Performance basically calibrated the tuning for the gearbox in-house, and let me tell you guys, it's really freaking good. All that power is sent to the rear wheels via a Torsen limited slip differential, good old mechanical style, and that is good in combination for 760 horsepower and 625 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 on this car is in the low 3-second range, and let me tell you guys, it is a missile you will see very shortly. This specific GT500 is also equipped with the optional Recaro bucket seats that help to bolster you quite well. The only thing that they're lacking are some power adjustable features and heated and cooled seats. I'm personally really glad that this car was not optioned with the standard Mustang GT seats because it's a Shelby, it's a track purpose vehicle. These seats definitely bolster you well and they look amazing. It also has the $1,500 factory handling package, which adds adjustable strut top mounts for added camber adjustment, an oil catch can, a gurney flap on the rear spoiler, and splitter wickers with integrated dive planes on the front fascia. This car is not equipped with the $18,500 carbon fiber track package that deletes the rear seats, adds a carbon fiber fixed rear wing, and also adds the addition of carbon fiber multi-spoke wheels. That is obviously for owners who want to take their vehicle to the racetrack and maximize the most performance that they can out of this S550 platform. So with all that technical talk out of the way, let's go ahead and see how this thing drives. So taking off in the 2020 Shelby GT500, I have a good friend of mine in the passenger seat right now. You can't see him on the camera, obviously, but we've been talking about all morning just how ballistically quick this car is. When I say that this is a fast car, I mean, this might genuinely be the fastest car I have ever personally driven, and by far one of the fastest cars that I have ever experienced that is just completely stock. This car does not feature any aftermarket modifications or upgrades to enhance the performance of it overall. It is exactly how you would get a GT500 off the factory line from your local dealership. And man, this thing impresses, at least in terms of its straight line performance, and we'll go ahead and demonstrate that with a quick pull right now. Got the car in sport mode and the exhaust in track mode. Let's get it. The power is incredibly smooth, and because of the fact that this is a supercharged power plant, there's absolutely zero lag when it comes to bringing the power on, unlike with a conventional turbocharged setup. The other thing that I have to credit American cars for, which they always hammer in terms of the driving experience, is the theatrics behind the car itself. I recently reviewed a C7 Chevrolet Corvette Z06, and it was the same thing in the sense that these cars just come equipped from the factory with a stupidly loud exhaust. There is a ton of sound and engine noise and induction that is being translated from the outside of the car to the interior. And in addition to that, the gear shifts are quite brutal. This 7-speed Tremec dual clutch automatic is extremely fast and right up there with some of the best DCTs that I have ever driven, such as Porsche PDK and BMW M DCT as well. The gear changes in sport mode are quite aggressive, and you get a nice pop on every single upshift, and the downshifts are seamless as well. But what's funny is if you actually stick this thing into track mode, the gear shifts will smoothen out on the up changes in order to help keep the rear end of the car planted so that each gear change doesn't upset the rear suspension of the car, and that way you can optimize your lap times on the track. And what's crazy is that this car isn't super intimidating to drive. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a bonkers fast 760 horsepower missile, but at the same time, it's not all that intimidating. Again, the power is very smooth, even though it's extremely strong. It doesn't feel like the car wants to step out on you at all times. I mean, if you're really being aggressive and driving the car around like a monkey, you can undoubtedly get this car sideways without any issues. But at the same time, what I can really appreciate is that the Ford engineers developed this car and tuned the suspension geometry, which is bespoke to the GT500, in order to maximize track performance. And also, oh my God, are you kidding me? Stupid. What the f? And this car features a McPherson strut front end suspension with an aluminum multi-link in the rear. And while it is somewhat of a conventional suspension setup, there is so much torsional rigidity with the chassis. There's great stiffness with the anti-roll bars, and this car also employs the use of magneto-rheological dampers, which are essentially magnetic fluid-filled shocks that can basically adjust the dampening rates of the suspension setup on the fly. And driving this car in sport mode, it's definitely got a firm suspension to it, but there is a level of compliance that is greatly appreciated in this car. This car isn't so jarring to drive to the point where you feel like it's gonna rattle your teeth off. Overall, the suspension is stiff. I mean, there's very little body roll with this car. Again, the whole chassis itself feels very tight. It feels very hunkered down. But at the same time, it's livable enough to where if you were to daily drive this thing or even drive it on a semi-occasional basis, again, you're not going to be complaining about the suspension setup on it by any means. And I've only been driving this car in sport mode, which is one of the stiffer settings for the suspension. So if you dial it back down to the normal driving modes, it's definitely going to feel more compliant. I think what's so comical about the S550 platform is how Ford engineers have basically taken, think about a base model 4-cylinder EcoBoost convertible Mustang that you would rent at Hertz, and then compare that to, a modern Shelby GT500. How have they been able to engineer so much insane performance, technology, and hardware into the same platform? I mean, you really can't compare the two all that much, but at the end of the day, both are Mustangs, and it's hilarious to kind of see the hierarchy of different Mustangs that are out there for sale that you can still buy. Taking this car through some back roads and some sweepers, again, the suspension tuning is so great. What I really like as part of the handling package is that you do have those adjustable top mounts. So essentially you get factory camber plates, so you can squeeze out extra negative camber to reduce tire wear and to improve cornering grip on track, which I think is quite beneficial. Now, because of the fact that we're not equipped with that $18,500 track package, we do not get the standard Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires that are fitted to the car with that. Instead, we have Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. I believe it's a 315 section in the rear and a 305 in the front. So a lot of rubber that this car gets, and it definitely needs it because this car is fairly heavy. With a 4,200 pound curb weight, it is no lightweight vehicle. But the suspension tuning of the dampers in combination with the smoothness and quick gear changes from the dual clutch and the instantaneous responsiveness of that Predator engine make for an unreal experience. And you just feel like you're driving a car that has absolutely no right to be this quick. Go ahead and just give it another pull for good measure. The brakes on this car are strong. We've got some beefy 6-piston Brembo calipers up front, 4-piston Brembos in the rear. These are just fat 2-piece, steel rotors. No drilling or slotted design elements to them, just beefy, big brakes. And there was no carbon ceramic brake option for this car, but I think, if you're going to be tracking the car, you're going to want the steel brakes anyway, because carbon ceramics are so costly to service. And they really do not seem to have any issues with slowing this car down from speed. The brake pedal is a tad bit mushy in this particular example. I don't feel a whole lot of firmness. It is decently progressive in terms of the overall braking feel, but I would like the brake pedal itself to feel a little bit more firm. Wow, this car just moves, and it can just cover so much ground in such an unbelievably short amount of time. American cars are really no joke. Their modern sports cars that they're developing are just truly up there with the Europeans, and they're just so impressive. I wish I had a track to really just hammer this car on and to see what kind of lap times I could put down. But I'm a big fan of this car, guys. It's a big win from Ford Performance, and I'm just so happy to see them continuing to carry this platform onward with the new S650 Mustang, the new Mustang Dark Horse, and of course the $300,000 GTD that is going to be coming out in the next few years. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this review today. I appreciate your support. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. I will catch you all in the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.